Okay, we're gonna take a look at the weapons that were added by the latest warbond. We've tested every single one. We're not gonna go over the whole tier list right now. That's gonna be a separate video. But for this one, just so you guys get a better idea about the new warbond's weapons, is it actually worth to get it? Should you wait for buffs and so on? So let's start off with the Tenderizer. If you compare it to the Liberator, for example, right? You see that they have the same damage. Capacity on this one, on the new one, is lower. Recoil is better, but the fire rate is also lower, okay? And yes, the recoil difference is kind of noticeable in terms of the weapon does feel really good. Like in terms of how it shoots, how it sounds, the recoil pattern, everything in that case is great, but there's just so many better options in the game, man. Also, keep in mind, this is just light armor penetrating, right? It's not medium armor, nothing like that. So if you're looking for clearing ads in general, you have the sickle, for example, that will do it better than any of the Liberators. So this weapon right now, the Tenderizer, if I'm being honest with you, I don't see a spot for it in any of the activities. I really don't. Unless you just enjoy the weapon, which is fine. You can use it, you can have fun with it. But if I'm being honest, I'm putting it somewhere B or C tier, maybe in between B and C, but definitely not above B. It just doesn't perform. Maybe even C tier, like somewhere in that range, okay? Now let's talk about the new SMG 72 when we compare it to the Defender. Now we've tried this against bots. We've tried this against Terminates. I'm gonna be honest. Yes, it has concussive rounds, but once again, it's going to have lower damage and lower fire rate, which in a way makes it more easier to control. But if you think about it, Defender on its own is not hard to control at all, and it already feels really good. Now, is the concussive rounds worth it? In my opinion, no. When there are weapons that can kill instead of concuss and just get it done faster with more damage, unfortunately, I don't think it's a super good weapon. Now, does that mean that it's a bad weapon? No, I think that out of the weapons that they've added, this is probably the better one. Another big issue I have with this one is it feels too familiar. Like when I'm getting a new warbond, I want some fresh weapons, right? In general, I'm not a big fan of the concussive rounds as mentioned. I'm just not. I feel like it's the same problem with the Liberator concussive. Yes, we get it. It like staggers them a little bit, but why am I going to use that if there are weapons that can just kill them straight up faster? The real question is going to be at the end of the day, is it better than Defender? That's all it's going to be. Now, if you like concussive rounds, then maybe for you, it's going to feel better. For me personally, the Defender still feels better, especially when I'm playing against the Terminates. I'm not looking for concussive rounds. I just want them to die. And that Defender definitely does better. Also, keep in mind, there's a damage difference here, right? The Defender will do slightly more damage with higher fire rate, which at the end of the day means you're dealing more DPS. And that's what you want, right? Especially against the Terminates. Now, against the bots, the concussive shots, yes, can be useful. Both of them are one-handed, so you can combine them with the ballistic shield. That does make them unique, yes. But I will still take the Defender over this new SMG. So I'm going to drop this also into B tier. Let me know what you guys think about this one so far. Now let's move on to the weapon that I was extremely excited about until we move on to the pistol. We've unlocked all of these, by the way. This is the Purifier, the new energy-based plasma weapon. Okay, let's do this. Let's start with comparing it, for example, to the Punisher plasma. So you see that the capacity is better, recoil is better, fire rate is higher technically because it has a charge system to it, but it has the same damage. Now, the reality is the fire rate in terms of literally how many shots you can get out per, let's say, minute is not going to be the same. The plasma shotgun is going to have better fire rate overall. So you're going to be able to shoot way more shots, let's say in 10 seconds than you will with the Purifier, okay? Now, on top of that, that charge time seems pretty long for the amount of damage that it deals. Like when you have a charge mechanic on a weapon, you would assume that it's going to do more damage. But I just don't see how I'm going to take this one out and implement the Purifier. It's just not worth it. It's really not worth it. And that's the truth. And same goes for the Scorcher. If you're playing against bots, when we're testing the Purifier against the bots, it feels okay. But then again, you don't have any kind of charge time on Scorcher, and you can just slap them around fast. And it feels like even though it's 200 damage, and this one is 250, there's no difference. So in order to make this weapon viable, they really need to do a few things here. One, they probably need to increase the damage. Like we're talking a bigger increase, like 350 damage maybe instead of 250. Or if you don't want to do that, make the charge time way faster. We're talking way faster, and also maybe increase the radius of the explosion. There's a few things they can do to make this weapon good, but I will say this. Once they will buff it, and they will buff it, trust me on that, this weapon is going to be incredible. Incredible. And this might become my main weapon for my overall builds in the game, because I absolutely love plasma weapons, and I feel like with a slight adjustment here, it could be easily S tier. But for now, I'm just gonna slap it in between B and C. That's where I'm at. There's just too many options right now in the game that do what this weapon does, but better. Now let's talk about the last one, the secondary. This is pretty funny because we all thought this was gonna be like a deagle, right? High damage, secondary, it would be a super fun weapon. Now I will say it felt pretty good against the bots. It really did. Against the Terminates, I think there's just way better options. However, if you take a look at this, you will see that the Senator pistol has 175 damage and it's medium armor penetrating, while this one, the secondary, the new one, Verdict, is not medium armor penetrating, okay? It's just light armor. So you're not going to be able to do anything with medium armor. And it has 125 damage versus 175 damage on the Senator. So that's something you want to keep in mind. It's not super high damage. The capacity is 10. I wish it had a little bit more ammo. Fire rate is okay. The weapon overall feels good, but I don't see me using this against the Terminates, for example, because I have way better options, such as Grenade Pistol is S tier, Redeemer is great for ad clear, and also on top of that, with the Senator buff, it feels incredible now. It really does. I do like it against the bots. However, do I like it more than the Senator? No, I don't, because it has medium armor penetration. When those enemies are running at you with armor, you don't worry about it. You take them out with the Senator. Even the Grenade Pistol deals with them really well. And in this case, this one just doesn't. Also, if I want ad clear once again in terms of taking out the smallest enemies, the Redeemer is also there. There's just so many good options currently in the game that when you get a new Warbond, you expect those items to at least compete. With this latest Warbond, the weapons in this one, I don't know. I am not a big fan of it. I think like all of them are between B and C. Like I don't think like any of them are A. Nothing's above that, if I'm being honest with you. I am going to do an updated overall tier list for all weapons because there have been a lot of changes, buffs, nerfs, and we're going to discuss how these weapons perform on Helldive difficulty and so on. But for now, that's going to be it for the new Warbond weapon tier list. I hope that this one gives you an idea if the Warbond is worth it for you or not. And make sure to let me know what you guys think in the comment section below.
Let's go! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I mean, we literally have the best community of all time.